All right, we live.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. This is GMS Louisiana Saints with another Shabbat lesson. But before we get started, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Bahakadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Shabbat Shalom. And pretty much this Shabbat lesson is going to be a continuation of the Shabbat lesson we tried to have yesterday after camp before we were interrupted, which was going into the chariots being the vehicles of our salvation. Because after camp yesterday, the elder brother had spotted, like, it was a clear sky and there was just a single bright star up there, and the elder brother spotted it, and we knew it was the chariot. And as the chariots usually do, when they're ready to go, they make their appearance known so the men of the Lord can see it, then they disappear. This bright star got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until you couldn't see anything. And we just saw that as a sign that we're doing everything we need to do, and that our salvation is nearer than when we believe. Because these chariots, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs, are the vehicles of our salvation. And as we get closer and closer to Yahweh's second coming, what have you seen? An uptick of chariots all across the planet, so much to where these heathen governments are having to come out with reports saying that so-called UFOs exist. And then you've got Showtime that just did a documentary on the chariots, and Esau was being slick in that documentary where he pretty much equated that the angels are the ones piloting the chariots. But hey, Akim, we're in those times, as you can clearly see, all these times that Yahweh told us to look for before his second coming are either taking place as we speak or in the process of taking place. We're almost there. You just gotta keep holding on and not get weak with all these trials that this devil's about to come with during Jacob's trouble, so you can ultimately be of that elect number that gets beamed up onto the chariots. But we'll start with that Luke chapter 21.
Gotcha. This is the book of Luke chapter 21, verse 27. The red letters, Yahushua speaking. It says, "And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory."
And of course, the Son of Man is Yahweh, and that cloud is the chariot. As pursuant to Psalms 104, he maketh his chariots as the clouds, or his clouds as the chariots, showing that clouds in the scriptures can be synonymous with the chariots. So that's speaking about Yahweh returning in that massive fathership chariot that Esdras couldn't see the end of in 2nd Esdras 13. And that's going to be a day, because I imagine it like this: like there's going to come a point where you're going to hear that trumpet blown, that noise heard around the earth, and then that chair is just going to appear in the sky, and we know that that's it. We know that that's the time that the salvation is there, and that the kingdom of heaven is right around the corner, and that's truly the final nail in the coffin of Esau Edom's rulership. Keep going out.
And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh.
And that's exactly what we did after camp yesterday. We looked up and lifted up our heads into the sky and saw the chariots, the vehicles of our salvation. And as it says, it's letting us know that our redemption draweth nigh. These are very beautiful times we're living in. And we can clearly see that not only is our salvation at hand, but the fame of the word is at hand as well, because we couldn't get through the pre-camp video without it getting cut short, or the post-camp video without it getting cut short. And then during camp, to the Akim out there that watched the New Orleans camp video, we can't get through the whole camp without having to mute it, because music's constantly passing. People are playing music constantly passing by, and whenever a brother's about to make a point, you got to mute it. So that's just the Most High letting us know that this ministry is almost done. And you know what? We're happy about it, because however long brothers have been out there preaching, hey, we've made our we've gotten the blood off of our hands by preaching unto the nation of Israel. So we just got to keep strong and keep firm and hope that that we are of that number that gets beamed up into the clouds or the chariots for salvation. And these aren't things to be scared of, Akim. As we get closer and closer to the end, and Esau starts talking more and more about UFOs and trying to equate them with aliens, they're going to try to put that narrative out there that they're not coming in peace, that they're coming in war, and that people need to gang together to fight against them. And they've shown as much in their different movies like Independence Day, Mars Attacks, or any of these other movies. And hey, 2/3 are going to fall into the narrative and get destroyed along with those heathen nations that are going to try to fight against Yahweh Shai in that day. But as for us in our house, hey, we believe in Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, and know that these chariots are the vehicles of our salvation. Could you give me Psalms chapter 91?
Okay. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 91, starting at the top. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty.
Keep going.
I will say of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, he is my refuge and my fortress, my power. In him will I trust.
Hey, that's exactly what the hopeful elect are doing right now, abiding under the shadow of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. We've heard this word and have done everything that's been commanded of us to do. Follow these laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our abilities, and go out onto the highways and byways, making our bodies a living sacrifice for the testimony of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And we're putting up video epistles like this, again, to get the blood off of our hands and to hope to make our calling and election sure, and ultimately get beamed up onto the chariots. Keep going up.
Surely,
you can bring it out.
All right, this is Psalms 34:7. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and delivereth them.
And point blank period. The angels encampeth around them that fear the Lord. Hey, even if you can't see them, the chariots are all around us, especially when we're out on the block. We saw just one chariot last night, but the sky was probably full of them. They just didn't make their presence known. And it's like that. Hey, with the elect out there, wherever you go, hey, there's angels following you. Because brothers always have testimonies of just driving around and seeing a chariot in the sky. Hey, after the brothers left camp, we went and fellowship somewhere, and we saw a similar bright star in the sky. And I believe that was that same chariot that followed us from camp all the way to the place that the brothers fellowshiped at. And then when I got home that night, I just happened to look up in the sky and see like a flash of light real quick, which people will refer to that as a shooting star, but we know there are no shooting stars. They're just the chariots. So again, that's to me, that's just the period point on letting us know that we're doing exactly what we need to do and that the Most High's got our back as long as we keep enduring.
I got you somewhere.
Oh, kind. You can get your precept, Kaya, and then we'll go back to that Psalms 91. Baba Kashab.
Come on. There's Isaiah chapter 31, verse 5. As birds flying, so well Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also he would deliver it, and passing over he would preserve it. And I'm going to go into that word deliver. Because this is what ultimately the video is about. And it's about the deliverance. All right. It's the most hottest topic talked about today. All right. Along with the prophecies of the Bible. And it's the biggest prophecy in the Bible up until this point. All right. Like there's nothing like the deliverance of the children of Israel from the hand or the land of their captivity. This is
Strong's H5337. Not Sal. Not Sal.
It says to snatch away, deliver, rescue, save, to strip, plunder. And the snatching away gonna happen because of why they simultaneously saving the elect of Israel, those elected for salvation. They're gonna be killing, destroying as well. It says to tear oneself away, to be torn out or away, to strip off, to rescue, to snatch away, to deliver from enemies or troubles or debt, to deliver from sin and guilt, to be plucked out, to be stripped, to strip oneself, recover, escape, take out, ultimately surely be what? Take out, to be ridded, to be recovered, rescued, saved, despoiled. You got it, right?
Hey, Samakia, could you get me Revelations 11, verse 12 real quick? Hey, what did all those words say in that definition? To get snatched away, to have redemption, to be redeemed by the Most High. Redemption.
I'm already up on it.
The 11 and 12?
Yeah.
Con,
I was already up.
I got 3 clips.
I got one too.
Yeah, this Revelations 11 and 12, it says, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended into the heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them.
And a lot of that fits into the definition that the brother Kaya brought out. And it said they ascended up to heaven in a cloud or a chariot. They were snatched up into heaven, getting beamed up into those chariots, and the enemies beheld them. And as the brother Kaya brought out in that the definition, what did it say? That they were saved from their enemies, they were redeemed, and they were snatched up. And as it says back in that Isaiah 31 verse 5 that you brought out, it said, and defending also he will deliver it, speaking of Jerusalem or the elect, and passing over he will preserve it, and passing over with the chariot and delivering them by them being ascending up into heaven in that cloud to be saved from the destruction of the nuclear missiles, as well as the so-called laser beams, that concentrated heat that's going to be getting fired from the chariots. And Yahushua passed over Israel in the past, in ancient Egypt, with the chariot. Hey, he was there with us with the plagues. And then when we came out of Egypt, there was that cloud. There was that cloud by day and that pillar of fire by night. The chariot following over Israel as we went into the wilderness. And it was a chariot that allowed Moses. It was the chariots that split the Red Sea so that Israel could go through it. And that was their redemption back then. And hey, we're going to have a similar redemption now with the chariots passing over this modern day spiritual Egypt and beaming up the elect.
Yeah, they got a little more.
Okay.
To go to a point in verse 13, it says, and in the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were afraid and gave glory to the Most High of heaven.
And that great earthquake is talking about those nuclear missiles, 200 million of which are going to hit this spiritual Egypt, the United States of America, Babylon the Great, which is what that 10th part of the city falling is referring to, because the United States is broken into 10 FEMA zones. So that's what that 10th part is talking about. And where it says, and there were slain 7,000 men, that's just a complete amount of destruction that's coming to everybody in the United States of America that isn't part of that elect number. And hey, that's why we're diligently doing what we're doing, because we don't want to take part in that second death, that death by fire. But
let me finish the Psalms.
We'll go to the Psalms after Wadi and Samaki get their precepts.
Yeah.
Somebody, you had it first. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, good. All right, this is First Thessalonians 4 and 17. It says, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds.
Start at verse 16.
In the air. So like 16, okay. This First Thessalonians 4 and 16. 4 and verse 16, for the Most High himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trump of Yahweh and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first.
As it said, for the Lord himself shall
17.
descend from heaven with a shout. Hey, what it say in Acts? The same way you saw Yahushua go up into a cloud. Oh, kind. You bring it out real quick then, as the spirit.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 9. And I want to get that word received to us, verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight.
Of course, that cloud is referring to that chariot that Yahushua got beamed up in the past.
That's right. And I got that word receive. It says, because what these UFOologists teach out here is that these so-called green men are driving these chariots and they beam people up and just experiment on them, man. But it says Yahushua was received, man. It says receive, receive.
Strong's G 5274.
Upalambano, it says to bear on high, to receive hospitably, to welcome, to continue a discourse or a topic. So ultimately, these chariots, they're encamping around us to receive us. We're going to be received. We're going to be welcomed with open arms by the angels, man. All right? That's why it says we're going to be delivered, because when the chariots deliver us up, we're going to be delivered into safety, man. You got it out.
And Kaya, could you hold for me Matthew chapter 24, start at verse 29 and read down to verse 31 after Samakia finishes in that First Thessalonians? But before you get to verse 17, as it said in verse 16, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout. As it says in Acts chapter 1, the same way you saw Yahushua go up is the same way he's going to come down. Him making his second coming in that massive fathership chariot with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High. That trumpet being blown, that's going to be heard to the four corners of the earth. And the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. Hey, those sincere Akim of that elect number that have passed away, they're going to be the first ones on the chariot with Yahushua in those new spiritual bodies, waiting to come and save the rest of the elect that remain on the earth. You got to smile.
Verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Most High in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Most High. Therefore, comfort one another with these words.
As it says, then we which are alive and remain, those of the elect that are still alive on the earth, when Yahushua makes a second coming, shall be caught up together with the clouds. Back in Revelation chapter 11, verse 12, and they heard a voice and ascended up to heaven in clouds, and their enemies beheld them. The elect get beamed up onto the chariots, the vehicles of our salvation. And then it says, wherefore, comfort one another with these words. That's exactly what we're doing right now with these video epistles, as well as going out onto the highways and byways, preaching to the hopeful elect, showing them that, hey, this torment of this captivity is at its end, and we're right around the corner of the great salvation and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven, where these heathen nations are going to be underneath our feet, and we're going to rule over them and be in peace for the rest of eternity. I know you brothers feel the same way as I do. These are very comforting words. As it says, when John the Revelator ate that roll, it was sweet in his mouth as honey. You hear that you're Israel. You hear that if you endure, you'll be of that elect number, and that you'll be ruling in the kingdom. But then it said it was bitter in his belly. We're in the bitter part right now, being made a gazing stock and a spectacle on the side of these people out here, being out there with the garments, preaching this word. Having people knowing that our family members are going to come against us, we're going to lose our jobs, and all these different trials of our faith are going to happen. But that as long as we endure until the end, and we can be of that number that ascends up into the heavens with the cloud to meet the Lord and be of that elect number. And that's definitely something worth fighting for. And even if it is your lot, I came out there to be a martyr and have to go out for the testimony of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, then so be it. As it says in 1 Thessalonians 4:16, then the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. If you go out like a soldier, you're going to be at that elect number as well. You're going to be waiting with Yahweh Shai in that new spiritual body, waiting to come to save the rest of the elect, those that remain in that day. So could you get me that Matthew 24, Baba Kasha?
This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken.
Hey, immediately after that tribulation, that bitter part we're going through now, as it says, in those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Those stars talking about those nuclear missiles being shot to the ends of the earth, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And these different governments and elites of these heathen nations being shaken, seeing that everything's been taken out of their control and that they're really at the mercy of what comes next, the calamities of Jacob's trouble, and ultimately those nuclear missiles. That's why they're creating these different hideaway and getaway spots to try to escape this coming destruction. Keep going on.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Hey, in that day they shall see the Son of Man ascending with a shout, with the host of heaven, with the trumpet of the Most High playing. Back in that Acts again, the same way you saw Yahweh Shai leave is the same way you're going to see him return. Him cracking those clouds with that massive fathership chariot, and also the host of heaven, Michael the archangel and the other angels with fleets of chariots invading this earth, as it says in 2 Ezra 13, and one realm shall fight against another, the realm of the Most High fighting against the realm of man on earth. And with all that taking place, you're going to have that great salvation of the elect ascending up to heaven in a cloud, in those chariots for salvation, as it's about to say. Oh, real quick, it says, and all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. Hey, the heathen nations are going to mourn because it's going to be something far beyond their imagination to see a invasion of this earth by so-called UFOs. And those in the know exactly what it is. Yahweh Shai returning to save his elect and in the rulership of the nation. But hey, the tribes, the elect of the tribes are going to mourn as well, because it's our salvation. Tears of joy as you're getting beamed up onto the chariots.
Yeah, I want to say something real quick too. That term, "beam me up, Scotty," goes back to, Scott goes into black, a black man, a land of the black. So "beam me up, Scotty" goes into "beam me up, black man."
And that character Scotty in Star Trek was a so-called Scottish person, and we know that a lot of those people in Scotland are Jakes.
Right.
And actually, that character Scotty, I think he was the one that was in control of the teleporter on that ship. So whenever they wanted to get beamed up, they'd say, "Beam me up, Scotty." So what's that show pretty much saying in a slick way? That the angels that have the appearance of so-called dark-skinned Negroes are gonna beam up, not the Star Trek characters, but ultimately beam up the elect. You can read verse 31.
You go into that whole Star Trek thing. That was based on scriptures, and it was basically a show based on the structure, how the Most High got things set up in the heavens, man. What you got?
You can read verse 31, Kayat.
Yeah, come. Yeah, and also what the brother speaking about is that war in heaven, man. All right, when Satan and his angels is going to fight against the right hand side, man, it's going to be against the left hand side. All right, it's going to be that great war in heaven. It says, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other.
Hey, beam me up, Scotty. The angels gathering the elect from the four winds, them getting beamed up onto the chariots. ascending up to the heavens in a cloud for salvation. You can go back to that Psalm.
Hold on. I fix that too.
Okay. We'll go back to that Psalms 91, and then we'll get your precepts, Samakia.
So this is back in Psalm 91, verse 3. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence.
Hey, the elect going through Jacob's trouble and having that protective hedge over them to make it through the calamities of Jacob's trouble, the pestilences, the famines, the race wars, civil wars, you name it. That when Esau makes his move, as it says in Isaiah 59, that's when the Most High is going to set up his standard. And what that's ultimately going to culminate in is the elect getting beamed up onto the chariots. Keep going on.
Verse 4. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler.
Hey, the truth being our shield and buckler, us putting on the whole armor of the Most High, the helmet of faith, and the sword and shield and the breastplate of the scriptures, and us going under his wings, under his and him covering us with his feathers and taking us under his wings, or us getting beamed up onto the chariots. Because in I think somewhere in Psalms, it's either 64 or 68, it says he has golden or silver wings, and his host is like 10,000 or 10,000, and those golden and silver wings are referring to the chariots, and that host of 10,000 or 10,000 is that fleet of chariots piloted by the angels.
You got it.
I got it right here.
8 and 17.
It's right here. It's Psalm 68 and 13. Let me go up. Yeah, Psalm 68 and 13 says, though ye have lain among the pots, yet shall ye be as the wings of a dove, covered with silver, and her feathers with yellow gold. When the Almighty scattered the kings in it, it was white as snow in Salam.
And then there's another scripture in Isaiah that refers to his wings or doves having windows. That's also referring to the chariots having windows on it. But those wings of a dove that are like gold and silver are referring to the chariots. Because the chariots are made of I don't know what the material they're made out of, but it's referring to those wings as like metal objects, like gold and silver, and that's what the vehicles are made out of, a heavenly substance.
Yeah, I don't know if you brothers ever seen. I think it was the Predator movie, The Predator. When you first, I think they went to New York or Manhattan. I think Danny Glover was in it. Like at the end, they went on the Predator went into a chariot. And inside the chariot was made of gold, and then the walls looked like it had the Paleo Hebrew all written on it and stuff, man. I don't know if you brothers ever seen that.
Yeah, you know, somebody trying to clip somewhere before.
And at the end of that clip, the head predator gave Danny Glover a pistol, like one of those flintlock pistols that says 1770 something on it, and that just goes to show that the chariots have been around all throughout history, and we know that the chariots are constantly influencing events. They helped Alexander the Great fight against the Persian Empire. They helped those different Greeks during the Grecian Empire. Of course, they helped Israel in the past, and they've just been around influencing different events throughout history to fit into the prophecy of the Most High.
Yeah, they even helped Christopher Christopher Columbus find America. They helped the actual 10 tribes when they made their voyage from under the Assyrian captivity. They helped them find America, man. And I got an example for you right here. I'm showing you that they intervened. They always been around throughout the years and centuries, man. And they helped in different events. This is Second Maccabees 5:1. It says about the same time Antiochus prepared his second voyage into Egypt, and then it happened that throughout all the city from the space almost of 40 days, there were seen horsemen running in the air, and clothed of gold, and the armies were laced like the band of soldiers, man.
And horsemen in the air, clothed in gold, going back to those gold and silver wings of the dove in Psalm 68. They saw chariot. Antiochus and his army back then saw chariots flying all throughout the sky.
I got a little more. It says, verse 3, and the troops of the horsemen in array, encountering and running one against another, with the shaking of the shields, and multiplied of spikes, and drawing of swords, and casting of darts, and glittering of gold ornaments, and the harnesses of all sorts. All right, it says, wherefore every man prayed that the apparition may turn to good.
Hey, they saw those chariots in the sky and were hoping that it was for their good and not for their destruction. And that's what people are going to be thinking about in this time when they see those chariots in the sky. The only thing you can hope for is that you don't get caught up in the smoke that they're bringing, because like that movie War of the Worlds, when they called them the tripods, but when the chariots first showed up, people were just looking at them. One guy was recording with his camera. They didn't know if they were there for good or bad. They were just so awestruck by it. But then once they started shooting those laser beams at people and turning them into dust and smoke, that's when they started hauling ass. They saw that it was a bad omen, a bad apparition for them.
I got you one.
You got it.
And this is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. The burden of Egypt, behold, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it.
Yahweh Shai returning with the host of heaven, him and the fathership chariot and those fleet of chariots over this modern day spiritual Egypt, America. And it said their idols shall be moved, because in that day it's going to be up. These soothsayers and warlocks and witches on the left hand won't be able to do anything to stop Yahweh Shai saving the elect and bringing an end to the rulership of the heathens. And it says that they shall melt in the midst of it. Their hearts are going to melt, or their minds, because they're going to see the chariots, and then the chariots are going to start getting to work shooting those laser beams onto people, and then they're going to literally melt, getting hit and turned into dust and smell of smoke.
God, if I could add, this is we're the only people that have a doctrine that even deals with this. When you look at Christianity, Islam, wokeism, all of these different philosophies, they're not going to be able to explain Yahweh Shai's second coming, the host of angels, everything they've been taught their whole life is just going to, right before their eyes, like, what? Nobody warned me about this. My pastor, my politician, the governors. We're the only people that are telling Israel, look, this is your salvation. This is what's coming.
I got you something, Mark.
I got one too.
Khan, y'all got
it. I'm still holding too.
Yeah, Khan.
I think Samakia had it first.
Khan, this Wisdom of Solomon 5:2. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for.
Hey, backing up just what Amawad said, they shall be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation beyond anything that they look for. As the brother Amawad said, we're the only ones that are preaching that these so-called UFOs are actually the heavenly vehicles, the chariots of the Most High that are returning to save the elect of the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. No other doctrine or philosophy out there is teaching that. And it's definitely the last thing a lot of people are looking for. because the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are looked at as the lowest of the lowest society. Us telling these people that we're Israel is enough of a mind blower that they don't want to believe. So how much more when the Savior, the Messiah, who they think is a so-called white man with brown stringy hair, actually is shown to be had the appearance of a so-called dark-skinned Negro with a white woolly beard and afro, returns in a massive ship to save the elect and bring war to the heathen nations and 2/3 of the nation of Israel. You had some more, Samakia?
I can go a little bit more. And say, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, in a proverb of reproach. We fools count his life madness, and his end to be without honor.
Hey, that's the biggest I told you so that we're waiting for, because as it said in verse 3, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within this in themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, in a proverb of reproach. Y'all are a bunch of bums. Y'all are mad at the white man because y'all don't have a job, or y'all don't have a woman. Y'all aren't the Israelites. It just all the things we hear out there, all the scoffing and the mocking. And as it says in verse 4, we fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. And we've heard people talking about the second coming and reading the Bible in the past. So what's a bunch of niggas and spicks in dresses on the highways and byways? How's that going to be any different? Y'all are just wasting your time. Why don't y'all go to college or get a job and just try to get along in society? Hey, this society is coming to an end, as you can clearly see. And it's going to be cherry top with those chariots returning to save up those very same people whom you had as a proverb of reproach to, and bring your miserable, worthless lives to an end. You can read verse 5 up.
Like I had to,
Okay.
so like I had to real quick. Yeah, and then the people, the masses, they not thinking this, super technology. They call them these UFOs or whatever. That's the way the world like to put it. There's no way they thinking it's coming to pick up some lowly Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The lowly, the lowly of the earth that look down upon everybody. There's no way this great phenomenon is coming to get a bunch of niggas. And that's the way people see it. That's why they look at it as crazy when we talk about the Chariots.
Hey, people aren't looking at it so crazy now, like for what, the past 70, 80, however long the time, whenever people would talk about so-called UFOs, you'd be like, oh, that's tinfoil hat conspiracies. But now you've got these major governments talking about it, and people are starting to consider, well, hey, there's one next step beyond that those UFOs aren't aliens or little green men, but they're actually the angels of the Most High piloting the heavenly vehicles of the Most High, and they're coming to bring war to this earth.
Verse 5, how is he numbered among the children of Yahweh, and his lot is among the saints.
And as you just said, nobody would ever expect that this great technology, which you had some ex-Navy person, Edomite, a master at arms in the Navy, come out and say on the news that they have no clue what these things are. They have no visible propulsion mechanisms on them or anything like that. And he said that they're at least 100 to 1,000 years beyond anything that humans have, which it's even more inestimable than that. We're talking about the vehicles of the Most High. You can't put a number on that. These things are coming to save, as you said, a bunch of lowly niggers, spicks, and tontos, the lowest of the earth, the last people that were looked for by anybody.
I got two of them real fast on the chairs. It is Psalm 97. I'm gonna start at 1. It says, "The Lord reigneth, and let the earth rejoice. Let the multitudes of the isles be glad thereof. It says, clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgments are in his habitation of his throne. All right, that's the point. It says, a fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about him. It says, his lightnings enlightening the world, the earth saw and trembled. That's heavy right there. It says that. Said the mountains melt like wax at his presence, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth.
Hey, as I said, a fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about. Those chariots shooting that concentrated heat, or so-called laser beams, onto these people, which you can read about in detail in Psalms chapter 13. He neither lifted up his hand nor held sword, but only as it came out of his mouth was a blast of fire. That the chariots shooting that those laser beams on the people, and it said it burned up that multitude, and nothing was to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. And as it says, okay,
you about to say something?
I'm just gonna go into verse 4 and 5, where it says, his lightnings enlightened the world, and the earth saw and trembled. As it said back in that Matthew 24, and the nations of the earth, the tribes of the earth mourned. And as it says in Revelation 1 verse 7, and all the kindreds of the earth saw him and mourned as well, because he's coming to bring that great judgment and destruction. And it's saying in verse 5 that the hills melted like wax at the presence of Yahweh. And that's these different power structures and heathen governments being taken down once he makes that second coming, because that's it. That's the end of the age of the rulership of the heathens and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, the second one I had was 2 Thessalonians 1. I'm going to start at 6. It says, sin is a righteous thing with the Lord, with the Most High. Recompense tribulation to them that trouble you, and to you who are troubled, rest with us. When the Lord Yahweh shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, and in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not Yahweh, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Yahweh Mashiach, who shall be punished with the everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his power.
And it speaks for itself. Yahweh Shah making that second coming to save the elect, as well as punish 2/3 of the nation of Israel and you heathen nations with that great inestimable trying to say that word, power that he's bringing. The armies of heaven flee the chariots. And as I said, I'm just going to say real quick, and as I said, the Most High is going to recompense those that trouble us. Everybody is about to get everything they deserve soon enough. They're going to go through the calamities of Jacob's trouble, and for those that survive that, the only thing they get to look forward to is that Sarah treatment, getting burned up by those nuclear missiles, as well as getting hit by the laser beams from the chariots. I think you had a precept, Kaya, and then you got it, Wide. Yeah.
Khan. Because many people trust in chariots, all right, and they horses, all right, but we trust in the chariots, all right. That's pretty much, all right, touchable, all right. They're untouchable to the earth, man, all right. And not only that, they're gonna defend us, man. And we believe and trust in that, man. We trust in the unseen, the unknown, all right. And people look at us like we bogged out our mind, man. But those are the dare to know, all right, and that's our brothers, man. But this is 2 Kings 6. I'm gonna start at 13. It says, and he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. This the king of Syria trying to fetch Elisha. It says, and it was told him, saying, behold, he is at Dothan. Therefore sent he to the horses and chariots and the great host. Because we know that a great host or our strength can't deliver us, or sword. That can't deliver us, man. But the wicked, all right, and those who don't fear the Lord, they believe in their armies, all right, that's what's going to deliver them. It says, and they came by night and compassed the city about, And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and going forth, behold, and hosts compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. Because it tell you in Psalms 33 and 17, a horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver by any his great strength. So horses and chariots, literal horses and chariots, all right, it's not going to bring you forth into the Lord. It says, and his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? Question mark. And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And said, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, I pray thee open his eyes that he may see. And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha.
Hey, that goes back into what the brother Wabia brought out earlier in that Psalms 34. The angels of the Most High encampeth around those that fear him. Hey, the king of Assyria at the time was coming against Israel, and then Elijah, or was it Elijah or Elisha? Elisha allowed his servant with him to have his eyes open, and he saw that they had the heavenly host around them protecting them, fleets of chariots in the sky that were more. You had a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, hey, the angels of the Lord is innumerable. So there's not an army or a host of the earth that's assembled or put together can challenge something that's unlimited or innumerable. And on top of that, their strength can destroy, one of them can destroy the entire earth, man. How can you believe in this or trust in this, man? All right. Like it's inevitable, man, what the angels are going to do for the men of the Lord. All right. And those who have put their faith and trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. You got it, bro.
God. And I remember there's this one move. There's all throughout these movies, Esau knows that the chariots exist and they're not coming to bring peace. You got Independence Day, and then you got the third Lord of the Rings movie, which was funnily enough called The Return of the King. And what's Yahushua, the King of Kings, the Return of Yahushua. Well, in that movie, you had the orcs, which are the bad guys. They had like a whole army waiting on shore on a dock for their reinforcements to arrive, and the ships did arrive, but they were empty, and the three main characters got out, and then the orcs were like, oh, these are just three guys. But then as the three main characters charged at him, you saw like ghosts appear out of nowhere and just start killing everything. That was symbolic. That was a representation of that kings that the brother Kaya brought out. And what was funny is that you saw the ghosts, they were running on the water, and some of them were riding ghost horses and all that. And what that reminds me of is 2 Ezra 13, where it says the heathens were gathered from the four winds to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And we know that the sea was talking about the Shemayim, but the waters in space. But they just showed it as actual literal waters in Lord of the Rings. Those ghosts were traveling on the waters, and those orcs tried to subdue them.
Going on the comment board.
I got two quick ones.
You can get the one on the comment board, and then you got it, Wadia.
This the brother Kabar. Shabbat Shalom. This is Jeremiah 30 and 23. Behold, the whirlwind of Yahweh goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of Yahweh shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days he shall consider it.
And hey, that whirlwind is speaking of the chariots, as it says, to further back up that precept in Isaiah 66 verse 15. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. You had it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll just finish it off since I'm here. to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flame of fires. Backing up that Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 23 that the brother Kabar brought out. Behold, the whirlwind, the chariots of Yahweh goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind, and it shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. And coming back with that furious judgment on these heathen nations, as well as the 2/3, shooting that concentrated heat onto them, burning them to a crisp. And on top of that, you're going to have those nuclear missiles flying through the sky as well. Hey, if you're not at that elect number, there's no hope for you making it in Babylon the Great. Yet, any more precepts, Wadia?
Yeah, I got a quick one.
You got it.
It's the book of Psalm 68 and 17. It says, the chariots of Yahweh are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai, in the holy place. Just backing the brother up. We don't have a current army on this society. Russia has an army, the United States has an army, but the Most High, he deals in war. So our army is the holy angels in those chariots. I believe it's the book of James. It tells you, fear the Lord of Shabbat. And when you go into that word, it goes into the armies of Israel. And that's going to ultimately be the elect and those chariots, man. So the Most High, he deals in war. I got a quick one to back it up. This is Isaiah 9. Isaiah 9 and 5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
I got one too.
Just to back up what Wadia said with the talking about how the ancient battles were with loud noises and shouts and all that, it said this final battle is going to be with flames and fuel of fire. This third woe, World War III, which is going to culminate in those nuclear missiles being shot to the ends of the earth, that flame of fire, as well as that rebuke and flame of fire coming from the chariots of the Most High, those laser beams, when Yahweh Shai makes his second coming to again save the elect and put an end to the rulership of these heathen nations.
You got it. Ready?
You got a precept, Elder?
Yeah, this is where I'm at. Jeremiah 4 and 5. I'm gonna read down. It says, declare ye in Judah and publish in Jerusalem, and say, blow ye the trumpet in the land, cry together and say, assemble yourselves and let us go into the defense cities. Set up the standard towards Zion. Retire, stay not, for I will bring evil from the north in a great destruction. And this is the point. It says the lion is come out from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He shall go forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy city shall be laid waste without inhabitants. And now when you go down to 13, it also says, behold, he, which is Yahushua, shall come up as clouds, and his chariot shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. There you are.
Hey, as it said in verse 7, the lion has come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. Speaking of Yahushai, making it his grand second coming, and not only his massive fathership chariot, but that fleet of chariots that are coming with him, piloted by Michael and the angels, which goes into verse 13. Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. Those that aren't of that elect number, hey, that's going to be pretty much your final hurrah.
I can get a precept of that. that come to my mind is Isaiah 63:1. It says, "Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak it in righteousness, mighty to save. Where art thou red in thy apparel, thy garments like him that treadeth in the winepress? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will trodden down in my anger, and trodden them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garment, and I will sprinkle all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my recompense is come." All right, and it says, "And I looked, and therefore none to help. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that was none to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it uphold me." And it's the last one that says, "And I was trodden down, and I will trot down the people in my anger, and make them drunken in my fury, and I will bring down the strength to the earth." There you go out.
God, Yahushua returning with the heavenly host. And the first verse in Isaiah 63 lets you know who he's mainly coming against. Who is this that cometh from Edom, the so-called white people with dyed garments from Basra? And we know Basra was an ancient chief city of the Edomites, and modern day Basra would be Babylon the Great, the United States of America. This gives you an example of how massive that chariot's going to be. When Yahushua comes to save the elect, that chariot is going to be over Babylon, as well as be over in the Middle East, over the Valley of Jehoshaphat, saving the elect and bringing war to the heathen nations that have been gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And the rest of those verses go into that mass death and destruction that he's bringing, chiefly to the Edomites. And because as it says in 2 Ezra 6, start around verse 7, for Esau is the end of the world of this current age of the rulership of the heathen nations, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth the kingdom of heaven. So when Esau goes down at Yahushua's second coming, that's the beginning of the world that followeth with Jacob.
Y'all want to back that?
Khan, you got it.
That's the book of Daniel, chapter 7. I'm going to start at 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, which is the Most High, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So the chariots come with an everlasting kingdom. Yahushua and the host of heaven, that's going to usher in the kingdom of heaven, which is never going to be removed. It's never going to go down. You got it up.
Hey, it explains itself. So hey, just going back to the topic of this video, the chariots are the vehicles of our salvation. They're coming to save the elect, and they're also coming to take away the rulership of these heathen nations, especially the last leg of this fourth beast in Daniel chapter 2, that reincarnated Roman Empire, Esau's rulership, that NATO-EU alliance that the U.S. is a part of. And once that goes down, as the brother brought out in Daniel, then he's going to get the dominion and the rulership over everything. And hey, the joint heirs are going to get it as well, beginning with the elect, and then trickling down to the rest of the nation of Israel. And these times are right around the corner, Akim. It's like we always tell you, you should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you possibly can to hope to make your calling and election sure, and get beamed up onto those chariots for salvation. But if the brothers didn't have any other precepts, we'll just go back to that Psalms 91. And you can reread verse 3, and we'll read down to verse 8, Baba Kashab.
God, this is Psalms 91, verse 3. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day.
Those arrows referring to those nuclear missiles, and the elect won't be afraid of those arrows because they're going to be on the chariots, safe from that nuclear destruction that's coming to the earth, chiefly Babylon the Great.
Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday.
Keep going.
1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee.
Hey, before the elect get beamed up on the chariots, they're going to have that standard set up in that day and have that protective hedge over them. As I said, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh unto thee. The elect are going to see a lot of death and destruction in that day, but hey, we're going to walk through it, and it's going to slide off of us like a spiritual cellophane, so to speak, because the Most High is going to be protecting his elect in that day, and it's all going to culminate in us being protected by his feathers and coming under his wings, getting beamed up onto the chariots. You can read verse 8.
Verse 8. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked.
Hey, the elect on those chariots looking down and seeing that mass destruction, seeing Babylon being turned into that lake of fire from those nuclear missiles, them standing upon the sea of glass, beholding the downfall of our enemies, and knowing that once the elect come down from the chariots, that's when the work begins and the kingdom of heaven is really going to be set up and established for eternity. And that's why, as it said in that 1 Thessalonians 4, we comfort one another with these words, because the words in this book are true and they're quickly coming to pass. But any brothers had any points they wanted to make or any precepts? So with that, we hope you sincere Akim out there were edified by this Shabbat lesson. And again, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.